My ex kept a journal about how to destroy my career. The journal fell open to page 47 when Marcus's laptop bag tipped over, and the first thing I saw was my name written in his careful architect's lettering at the top of the page, followed by weaknesses to exploit. I should have closed it immediately. Should have shoved it back into his bag with the rest of his things and pretended I never saw it. Instead, I found myself kneeling on my hardwood floor at 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday, reading about myself like I was studying for an exam I didn't know I was taking. Sarah gets defensive when questioned about her analytics certification. Mentioned 3 times she's self-taught, insecurity there. David Chen, her boss, values traditional credentials. Could mention casually that most senior marketing execs have formal training. My hands started shaking. David Chen. Marcus had met him exactly once, at our company's holiday party 6 months ago. I flipped the page. Sarah's client relationship with Morrison Tech built entirely on her rapport with Jennifer Morrison. If that relationship sours, she loses her biggest account. Jennifer mentioned at dinner, March 15th, that she hates when vendors go around her to other team members. Sarah does this. March 15th. I remembered that dinner. Morrison Tech was my crown jewel, the client that had earned me a seat at the senior leadership table. The account I'd been leveraging for the creative director position that was supposed to be announced next week. The position I'd worked 60-hour weeks for over the past 2 years. I kept reading, even though each page felt like swallowing glass. There were 17 entries about me, spanning 4 months. 4 months since our breakup, when I'd asked him to move out because I'd caught him going through my work emails. He'd called me paranoid then. Said I was letting work stress ruin our relationship. The entries were methodical, clinical. He documented every casual complaint I'd made about office politics, every moment of self-doubt I'd shared with him during our 3 years together. Things I'd told him when we were lying in bed, when I thought I was talking to someone who loved me. S mentioned feeling like an outsider in leadership meetings. Says Robert Kim talks over her, classic imposter syndrome. Leadership team probably notices this insecurity. Could amplify. Robert Kim was my peer, my main competition for the creative director role. The worst part wasn't just that Marcus had remembered these conversations. It was the dates scattered throughout, marking when he'd already started implementing his plan. Coffee with Jake Mitchell, S's coworker, 4 out of 12. Planted seed about S's defensive reaction to feedback. Ran into Jennifer Morrison at Whole Foods, 4/20. Mentioned concern about S seeming overwhelmed lately. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant, David wants to see you first thing tomorrow. Wouldn't say what about, but he seemed serious. I photographed every page with trembling fingers, the camera flash reflecting off Marcus's neat handwriting. 47 pages of character assassination disguised as thoughtful observation. A roadmap of psychological warfare written by someone who'd shared my bed for 3 years. When I finished, I sat back on my heels and stared at the journal. Marcus would be here in 20 minutes to collect his things, just like we'd arranged. Civilized. Mature. 2 adults who simply wanted different things. Except one of us had wanted to systematically destroy the other's career, and it wasn't me. I heard his key in the lock, he still had it for pickup purposes, and slipped the journal back into his bag exactly as I'd found it. Hey, Marcus said, appearing in my doorway with that familiar half-smile. Thanks for being flexible about timing. Of course, I replied, matching his casual tone. Anything for you. If he noticed the edge in my voice, he didn't show it. Marcus moved through my apartment like he still lived there, collecting his things with the same methodical precision I'd just witnessed in his journal. He grabbed his French press from the kitchen counter, his backup phone charger from the bedroom nightstand, that stupid ceramic owl he'd insisted we buy at the farmer's market last spring. How's work going? He asked, wrapping the owl in one of my dish towels. Big promotion announcement coming up soon, right? The casual way he said it made my skin crawl. Like he was making small talk instead of fishing for information about the career he was actively sabotaging. Next Monday, I said, watching him carefully. David's making the announcement at the leadership meeting. That's exciting. Marcus smiled, and for a moment he looked exactly like the man I'd fallen in love with 4 years ago. Warm brown eyes, that crooked tooth he'd always been self-conscious about. You've worked so hard for this, Sarah. You deserve it. The sincerity in his voice was so convincing I almost doubted what I'd just read. Almost. My phone rang, Jennifer Morrison's name flashing on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Sarah, hi. Do you have a minute to chat? Jennifer's voice sounded strained. I wanted to touch base before our quarterly review tomorrow. Of course. Is everything okay? Well, that's what I wanted to discuss. I've been hearing some concerning things about the Morrison Tech account management. Nothing specific, just questions about whether you're feeling overwhelmed with your current workload. Marcus had gone very still, pretending to examine a book he was packing while obviously listening to every word. I'm not sure what you mean, I said. The Morrison account is my top priority. Always has been. I know you feel that way, but I had someone reach out to me recently expressing concern. Said you mentioned feeling like you were juggling too many balls, that something might drop. Jennifer paused. Look, I like you, Sarah. That's why I'm calling instead of going straight to David. But if there are capacity issues, I need to know now. My mouth went dry. Jennifer, I never said anything like that. Who told you I did? Someone who seemed to know you pretty well. Look, maybe it was a misunderstanding, but given how important this account is to both our companies. She trailed off, letting the implication hang. I understand your concern, but I can assure you that Morrison Tech has my complete attention. Can we discuss this in detail at tomorrow's meeting? I'd like to address whatever misconceptions are floating around. Of course. I'll see you at 10. After I hung up, Marcus looked up with perfectly crafted concern. Everything all right? You look upset. Someone's been spreading rumors about me being overwhelmed at work. I studied his face for any tell, any flicker of guilt. Nothing. Apparently they told my biggest client I'm about to drop the ball on their account. That's terrible, Marcus said, shaking his head. Who would do something like that? The genuine indignation in his voice was masterful. If I hadn't seen his journal, I would have believed him completely. Instead, I watched him lie to my face while standing in the apartment where I'd confided in him about every professional insecurity I'd ever had. I have no idea, I said slowly. But whoever it is knows me pretty well. Knows exactly what would damage my reputation. Well, you'll figure it out, Marcus said, zipping up his laptop bag. You always do. You're the smartest person I know, Sarah. He kissed my cheek goodbye, and I let him, even though touching him now felt like handling a snake. After he left, I stared at my phone, Jennifer's concerns echoing in my head. Tomorrow's meeting could determine everything. The Morrison Tech meeting was a disaster. Jennifer had clearly been thinking about our phone call all night, and she came armed with questions I couldn't answer without sounding defensive. Why had Marcus, she used his name, confirming my suspicions, seemed so worried about my workload when they'd run into each other? Why was I apparently telling people I felt overwhelmed if that wasn't true? I never said I was overwhelmed, I repeated for the third time, but even I could hear how strained my voice sounded. Marcus and I broke up 4 months ago. I can't control what he chooses to say to people. So you're saying your ex-boyfriend is lying about conversations you had with him? Jennifer's tone was carefully neutral, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Who would believe that someone would fabricate something so specific, so seemingly harmless? The meeting ended with Jennifer requesting a transition plan for the Morrison Tech account. Just as a precaution, she said. To ensure continuity if my other responsibilities became too demanding. I had 48 hours to produce a document that would essentially train my replacement. Back at the office, I locked my door and spread Marcus's journal photos across my desk like evidence at a crime scene. There had to be something I could use, some way to prove what he was doing before Monday's promotion announcement. That's when I found the entry dated 2 weeks ago, drinks with Robert Kim, Tavern on 3rd, 7:30 p.m. Good opportunity to discuss Sarah's recent struggles with client management. Robert's ambitious, we'll see opening. Robert Kim. My direct competitor for the creative director position, and apparently Marcus's newest confidant. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through Robert's Instagram until I found it, a photo from 2 weeks ago, him raising a beer at Tavern on 3rd. Tagged location, timestamp, 7:47 p.m. I screenshotted everything. My assistant knocked on my door. Sarah? David Chin wants to see you. He says it's urgent. David's office felt smaller than usual, like the walls had moved closer together since yesterday. He didn't ask me to sit. I'm going to cut right to the chase, he said, settling behind his desk with a weary expression of someone who'd already made up his mind. I've had some concerns raised about your current capacity and client relationship management. David, if this is about Jennifer Morrison. It's not just Jennifer. He pulled out a folder. Robert Kim came to me yesterday with some observations about your recent performance. Said you've been expressing doubts about your readiness for senior leadership. The room tilted slightly. That's not true. He seemed genuinely concerned about you, Sarah. Said he'd heard from multiple sources that you've been struggling with the workload, questioning whether you're ready for more responsibility. Multiple sources. Marcus had been busy. What sources? I asked. David hesitated. Look, this isn't about pointing fingers. It's about making sure we're setting everyone up for success. The creative director role requires someone who can handle pressure without second-guessing themselves. I'm not second-guessing myself. Someone is deliberately spreading false information about my confidence level and my client relationships. I leaned forward. David, in 3 years here, have I ever given you reason to doubt my commitment or competence? No, he admitted. That's why this has been so concerning. The Sarah I know doesn't usually express this kind of self-doubt. Because I'm not expressing it. Someone else is doing it for me. David studied me for a long moment. Are you suggesting someone is intentionally trying to sabotage your promotion? Put like that, it sounded paranoid. Exactly like Marcus had called me 4 months ago when I'd confronted him about reading my emails. I'm suggesting that the information you're receiving about my state of mind isn't coming from me, I said carefully. And maybe you should consider the motivations of people who are suddenly so concerned about my well-being. Sarah, I need you to take the rest of the week to think about whether you really want this promotion. Given everything that's come to light, I'm wondering if the timing might not be right. The creative director announcement was Monday. 4 days away. I want it, I said firmly. I've earned it. Then prove it. Fix whatever's going on with Morrison Tech. Show me the Sarah I hired 3 years ago, not this defensive version. I walked out of his office with my career hanging by a thread, and Marcus's systematic demolition of my reputation playing exactly as he'd planned. But he'd made one mistake. He documented everything. And now I had proof. That evening, I sat in my apartment with Marcus's journal photos spread across my coffee table like tarot cards predicting a very specific kind of doom. My laptop was open to LinkedIn, and I'd been staring at the same profile for 20 minutes, Amanda Reeves, Marcus's new girlfriend according to his Instagram. She worked at Hartwell & Associates, the same architecture firm where Marcus was a junior partner. Posted enthusiastically about workplace culture and professional development. Had no idea she was dating someone who spent his free time orchestrating the systematic destruction of his ex-girlfriend's career. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. Coffee tomorrow? You sounded stressed yesterday. I'd called Katie after the Morrison meeting, but hadn't told her the full truth. How do you explain that someone you loved for 3 years has been playing a long game designed to destroy everything you've worked for? That every intimate conversation you'd shared was apparently being cataloged for future weaponization? Instead of responding to Katie, I opened a new browser tab and searched Marcus Chin Architects Seattle. His firm's website popped up first, featuring a professional headshot of him smiling confidently at the camera. Below that, several news articles about projects he'd worked on, including one from last month, Rising Stars in Pacific Northwest Architecture. Rising stars don't usually have time to orchestrate elaborate revenge schemes, but Marcus had apparently made time. I clicked on his firm's About page and scrolled through the staff bios until I found his supervisor, Patricia Hartwell, founding partner. 62 years old, graduate of Berkeley's architecture program, passionate about ethical practice and professional integrity. My cursor hovered over her email address for 10 minutes before I closed the laptop. The next morning brought another crisis. I arrived at the office to find Jake Mitchell, one of my junior colleagues, waiting by my desk with an expression I couldn't read. Sarah, do you have a minute? He glanced around nervously. I wanted to talk to you about something, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I probably should have said something sooner. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? It's about Marcus. Your ex. Jake shifted uncomfortably. He's been reaching out to people on the team. Nothing obvious, just casual conversations. Coffee, drinks after work. But he's been asking questions about you. What kind of questions? How you're handling stress, whether you seem overwhelmed lately, if you've mentioned doubting yourself about the promotion. Jake paused. At first I thought he was just concerned about you, you know? Like maybe he still cared and wanted to make sure you were okay. But yesterday he asked me specifically about your relationship with Jennifer Morrison, and something felt off. I sat down heavily in my chair. What did you tell him? Nothing specific. But Sarah, he was taking notes. Like, actual notes on his phone while we talked. Who does that in a casual conversation? Jake had just handed me my first witness. Did he meet with anyone else on the team? I asked. I know he had coffee with Lisa from communications last week. And I saw him having lunch with someone from the Morrison Tech account team on Tuesday, but I couldn't tell who from across the restaurant. Tuesday. The day before Jennifer called me with her concerns. My phone rang, David Chen's extension. My hands were shaking as I answered. Sarah, I need you in the conference room. Now. Bring whatever files you have on the Morrison Tech account. What's wrong? Jennifer Morrison just called. She's pulling the account. The world tilted sideways. The Morrison Tech account was worth $2.3 million annually. Losing it wouldn't just cost me the promotion, it might cost me my job entirely. She didn't give specifics, David continued, but she mentioned concerns about information security and professional boundaries. Something about personal relationships affecting business judgment. I closed my eyes. Marcus had found his kill shot. I'll be right there, I said, then hung up and looked at Jake. I need you to write down everything Marcus asked you about. Every question, every comment. Time, date, location. Everything you can remember. Sarah, what's going on? Someone's been playing a very long game, I said, grabbing the Morrison Tech files from my desk. And I'm about to find out if I'm smart enough to beat him at it. The conference room felt like a courtroom, and I was definitely the defendant. David sat across from me with the Morrison Tech files spread between us like evidence of my professional execution. Jennifer Morrison's voice crackled through the speakerphone, delivering my career's death sentence with polite, corporate efficiency. The decision wasn't made lightly, Jennifer was saying. But when personal information about our internal team dynamics started circulating, information that could only have come from privileged conversations with our account manager, we had to reassess the relationship. My throat felt like sandpaper. Jennifer, I need you to be specific. What information? Details about our internal restructuring plans. Comments about team members that were shared in confidence during our strategy sessions. Someone's been discussing our private business decisions at social gatherings. David's expression darkened. Sarah, did you share confidential client information outside the office? No. The word came out harder than I intended. Jennifer, who told you I was discussing Morrison Tech's internal matters? Someone who seemed very well informed about both our business relationship and your current stress levels. Look, Sarah, I've always liked working with you, but when someone close to you is concerned enough to reach out about your judgment being compromised. Someone close to me? My voice cracked. Jennifer, please. I need to know who contacted you. A pause. Your ex-boyfriend called me yesterday. He said he was worried about you, that you'd been sharing work stress inappropriately, and he was concerned it might affect our business relationship. He knew details about our Q3 restructuring that we only discussed in confidence. The room spun. Marcus had weaponized the nights I'd come home exhausted, the dinners where I vented about difficult clients, the conversations where I trusted him with the day-to-day frustrations of managing a major account. Every casual comment about Jennifer's team restructuring, every mention of internal Morrison Tech politics, he'd been cataloging it all. Jennifer, I said carefully, those conversations happened 4 months ago, when Marcus and I were still together. He's been systematically contacting my colleagues and clients to sabotage my career. I have documented proof. Sarah, David interrupted, that's a serious accusation. It's a serious crime, I shot back. Corporate espionage, tortious interference, defamation. Take your pick. Jennifer's voice came through the speaker, cautious now. What kind of documented proof? I pulled out my phone and found the clearest photo of Marcus's journal. He kept detailed records. Dates, strategies, target contacts. Jennifer, he wrote down that he planned to use your dislike of vendors going around you as a way to create friction between us. He documented a conversation we had in March where you mentioned that pet peeve. Silence on both ends of the call. Can you send me that documentation? Jennifer asked finally. I'm sending it now. My fingers flew across my phone screen, forwarding the journal photos to both Jennifer and David. Check the entry dated April 18th. He wrote down his strategy for contacting you 3 days before he actually did it. I watched David's face change as the photos loaded on his phone. His expression shifted from skeptical concern to something much darker. Jesus Christ, Sarah, he muttered, scrolling through the images. This is psychotic. Jennifer, are you seeing this? I asked. I'm looking at them now. Her voice had gone cold. The conversation he claims you shared with him about our restructuring, when did you say this happened? 4 months ago. We broke up at the end of February. Our restructuring wasn't even decided until last month. The details he shared with me weren't finalized until 2 weeks ago. Jennifer's tone sharpened. Sarah, I owe you an apology. And Marcus Chen owes both of us an explanation for how he knew confidential information about my company that you never could have told him. The pieces were falling into place, but they revealed something much worse than I'd imagined. The revelation hit me like ice water. If Marcus knew details about Morrison Tech's restructuring that weren't decided until after our breakup, he hadn't just been weaponizing old conversations. He'd been actively gathering new intelligence. Jennifer, I said slowly, who else at Morrison Tech has Marcus had contact with since February? I don't know. That's what we need to find out. Her voice was tight with barely controlled anger. David, I'm going to need a few days to investigate this internally before we make any final decisions about the account. Someone's been feeding confidential information to an outside party, and I need to know who. After Jennifer hung up, David leaned back in his chair and stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Sarah, this journal, how long has he been planning this? 4 months. Since the day I asked him to move out. I scrolled to one of the earliest entries. Look at this one from March 2nd. He wrote, long-term strategy, systematic erosion of professional credibility. Timeline, 6 to 8 months maximum. He gave himself a deadline. David's jaw tightened. And the promotion announcement is Monday. Perfect timing. I felt hollow saying it. He knew exactly how long my campaign for creative director had been running. He's been counting down. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake, * Marcus just called me. Asked if you seemed unstable after yesterday's Morrison meeting. Said he was worried about you having a breakdown. I didn't answer but thought you should know, *. I showed David the text. His face went red. He's still actively working his plan, I said. Even now, while we're figuring out what he's done, he's laying groundwork for the next phase. Making me look unstable, setting up a narrative about me having a mental health crisis. What do you want to do about this? David asked. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code, it was local. Sarah Chen? The voice was crisp, professional, female. It's Sarah Mitchell actually. Chen was my ex's name. This is Patricia Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. I believe you know one of our junior partners, Marcus Chen? My heart stopped. I do. Ms. Mitchell, I'm calling because we've had some unusual reports about Marcus's recent activities, and your name has come up several times. Would you be available to meet with me today? I think we need to discuss this situation immediately. I looked at David, who was listening intently. What kind of reports? The kind that could result in immediate termination and potential legal action if they're substantiated. How soon can you be here? 30 minutes later, I was sitting in Patricia Hartwell's corner office, watching her review printed copies of Marcus's journal photos on her mahogany desk. She was exactly what I'd expected from her website bio, sharp, no nonsense, with steel gray hair and the kind of focused intensity that built successful architectural firms. Ms. Mitchell, what Marcus has done is not just personally reprehensible, it's professionally catastrophic. For him and potentially for our firm. She tapped the journal pages. Using confidential information obtained through personal relationships to interfere with business operations, this is exactly the kind of behavior that destroys professional reputations. How did you find out about it? Patricia's expression grew grim. Marcus's current girlfriend, Amanda Reeves, found something troubling on his laptop yesterday. Chat logs, email drafts, phone records showing an unusual pattern of contact with people in your professional network. Amanda works in our HR department, and she recognized the behavior as potentially actionable harassment. Amanda had found more evidence. What kind of chat logs? I asked. Conversations with someone at Morrison Tech who's been feeding him information about their internal restructuring plans. Detailed discussions about how to time the release of damaging information for maximum impact on your career. Patricia's voice was ice cold. Marcus has been paying someone inside your client's company for corporate intelligence. The room spun. This wasn't just vindictive sabotage anymore. This was corporate espionage with a paper trail. Who? I whispered. Patricia slid a printed email across her desk. Someone named Derek Morrison. Jennifer Morrison's nephew, apparently. He's been Marcus's source inside Morrison Tech for the past 6 weeks. I stared at the email chain, watching my career destruction unfold in real-time coordination between my ex-boyfriend and my client's own family member. The final piece of Marcus's plan was worse than I'd ever imagined. The email chain Patricia showed me revealed the full scope of Marcus's operation. Derek Morrison, Jennifer's 24-year-old nephew who worked in Morrison Tech's business development department, had been feeding Marcus confidential information since mid-March. The payment trail was meticulously documented, $500 transferred via Venmo on March 18th, another $750 on April 2nd, $1,200 on April 15th. But it was the final email, sent yesterday at 11:47 p.m., that made my hands shake. Final payment of $2,000 transferred. Account termination confirmed for Friday. Nice doing business with you. D. Derek Morrison has been selling out his own aunt's company, I said, staring at the evidence. And Marcus has been paying him to destroy my career with insider information I never had access to. Patricia nodded grimly. Amanda found Marcus's banking records. He spent nearly $5,000 over 2 months buying intelligence from Derek. This isn't revenge anymore, it's a coordinated business conspiracy. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, *, this is Amanda Reeves. Patricia gave me your number. Can you meet me at Corner Coffee on Pine Street in an hour? There's more you need to see, *. Amanda wants to meet, I told Patricia. She says there's more. There is. Patricia's expression was grave. Amanda discovered that Marcus has been documenting this entire operation like it's some kind of business case study. He's got spreadsheets tracking the ROI of his sabotage efforts, timeline charts showing optimal moments for maximum damage. He's even calculated the potential financial impact on your lifetime earnings. The clinical precision of it made me nauseous. Marcus hadn't just wanted to hurt me, he'd wanted to destroy me efficiently, measuring his success in quantifiable career damage. What happens now? I asked. Now we call the police. Corporate espionage, wire fraud, conspiracy to interfere with business relationships. Marcus is looking at serious federal charges. Derek Morrison too. Patricia gathered the printed emails into a neat stack. And I'm calling Jennifer Morrison personally to inform her that her nephew has been selling her company's confidential information. An hour later, I sat across from Amanda Reeves at Corner Coffee, studying the woman who'd unknowingly been dating my would-be destroyer. She was petite, blonde, probably 26, with the kind of earnest energy that suggested she genuinely believed in doing the right thing. I should have called you weeks ago, Amanda said, sliding a manila folder across the table. I knew something was wrong when Marcus started asking weird questions about you. Like, obsessive questions. How successful you were, what kind of money you made, whether you seemed happy. I opened the folder to find printed screenshots of text conversations, browser histories, even GPS tracking data from Marcus's phone showing his locations during his casual meetings with my colleagues. He's been tracking his meetings with your coworkers like sales calls, Amanda continued. Look at page 4. He made a spreadsheet ranking them by how much influence they have over your reputation, then rated his success level after each interaction. Page 4 was a nightmare of organizational efficiency. Jake Mitchell, high influence with immediate team. Success level 8 out of 10, expressed concern about S's stress levels. Robert Kim, direct competitor, management ear. Success level 9-10, actively advocating for delay in promotion decision. Amanda, how long have you been dating him? 3 months. She looked sick. I thought he was just really analytical about everything. He makes spreadsheets for grocery shopping, tracks his workout efficiency, color codes his calendar. I thought the stuff about you was just processing the breakup methodically. When did you realize it was something else? Tuesday night. I used his laptop to check email and saw a browser tab open to your company's website, specifically the leadership team page. When I asked him about it, he said he was monitoring your professional development to make sure his investment of time was yielding appropriate returns. Amanda shuddered. He talked about destroying your career like it was a project he was optimizing. The folder contained 43 pages of evidence showing Marcus's systematic campaign. But the final page was what made everything clear, a printed email to someone named TK_consulting with the subject line, Phase 2 implementation. Marcus hadn't just been sabotaging my current job. He'd hired a reputation management firm to ensure the damage would follow me anywhere I tried to work next. The war for my career was bigger than I'd imagined, and it was about to get much worse. The email to TK_consulting was dated 3 days ago, and the subject line made my blood freeze. Phase 2 implementation, target, Sarah Mitchell, budget approved, $15,000. Amanda, what is TK_consulting? I asked, though part of me already knew I didn't want the answer. It's a reputation management company. But not the kind that helps you build your reputation. Amanda's voice dropped to almost a whisper. It's the kind that specializes in destroying it. Permanently. I scrolled through the email thread, watching Marcus negotiate the terms of my professional execution like he was hiring a contractor to renovate a kitchen. The scope of work was breathtakingly thorough: create and disseminate negative professional reviews across industry platforms. Establish pattern of client complaints on public forums. Generate social media presence suggesting unprofessional behavior and ethical concerns. The timeline was equally precise: Phase 2 initiation, Monday, May 15th, coinciding with expected promotion announcement failure. Duration, 60 to 90 days. Objective, render target unemployable in Pacific Northwest marketing sector. Monday. The promotion announcement was Monday, and Marcus had already paid someone $15,000 to ensure that even if I somehow survived losing Morrison Tech, I'd never work in Seattle marketing again. There's more, Amanda said quietly, pulling out her phone. I recorded a conversation yesterday before I knew I was going to turn him in. I wanted proof of what he was planning, in case I was wrong about how bad this was. She pressed play, and Marcus's voice filled the small coffee shop. Sarah thinks she's so smart, but she has no idea how many people I've talked to. By Monday, David Chen is going to announce Robert Kim as the new creative director, and by July, Sarah Mitchell will be lucky to get hired managing social media for a food truck. Another voice, male, unfamiliar, and you're sure the reputation management campaign will be enough to keep her blacklisted? Tommy, I've been documenting her weaknesses for 4 months. TK_consulting has everything they need to create a comprehensive professional assassination. Fake client complaints, manufactured ethics violations, even some suggestions about substance abuse problems affecting her work quality. My hands started shaking. Substance abuse. Marcus was planning to destroy my reputation by spreading lies about addiction. The beauty of it, Marcus continued on the recording, is that once TK_consulting plants those stories, they'll spread organically. Sarah's too proud to defend herself effectively, she'll just get more defensive and paranoid sounding, which will validate everything people are hearing about her being unstable. The recording ended. I stared at Amanda's phone, processing the fact that Marcus had studied my personality so thoroughly that he'd predicted exactly how I'd react to being systematically destroyed. Who was the other person on that recording? I asked. Tommy Chen. Marcus's brother. He works in digital marketing, and apparently he's been helping coordinate the online reputation campaign. Amanda looked ashamed. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I should have stopped this weeks ago, but I kept thinking maybe I was misunderstanding, maybe. You stopped it now, I interrupted. That's what matters. But even as I said it, I knew we might be too late. Monday was 3 days away. TK_consulting had probably already started building fake complaints and manufactured scandals. By the time I could prove Marcus's conspiracy, the damage might already be spreading across every professional platform in the city. My phone rang, Patricia Hartwell's number. Sarah, we have a problem, she said without preamble. Marcus just submitted his resignation, effective immediately. And according to our IT department, he wiped his work computer clean before leaving the building 20 minutes ago. Marcus knew we'd found his evidence. And now he was destroying whatever proof we hadn't already collected, preparing for the final phase of his plan while I was still figuring out how to fight back. The countdown to Monday's announcement was ticking, and Marcus had just gone underground. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since 6 a.m., and when I finally looked at the screen, my stomach dropped. The first text was from my sister Katie. Sarah, what the hell is this? Someone sent me a link. The link led to a professional review site called Career Watch, where someone had posted a detailed complaint about Sarah Mitchell, marketing executive at Chen and Associates. They'd even gotten my company name wrong, but close enough that anyone Googling me would find it. Unprofessional behavior with clients, the fake review read. Frequently appears intoxicated during client meetings. Shared confidential information inappropriately. Would not recommend for any serious marketing role. Posted by former client Morrison Tech employee at 5:47 a.m. TK_consulting had started their campaign early. I scrolled through more messages. Jake from work, someone posted something weird about you on LinkedIn. You should see this. My neighbor from 2 floors down. Hey, someone claiming to be your coworker left a voicemail on my business line asking about incidents involving you. Thought you should know. They weren't just attacking my professional reputation online. They were cold calling people in my personal network, fishing for information they could twist or creating the impression that I was under investigation for something serious. My landline started ringing. I let it go to voicemail, then played the message. This is Jennifer Kowalski from Pacific Northwest Business Journal. We've received some concerning allegations about your professional conduct, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond before we publish. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. The Pacific Northwest Business Journal. Marcus had escalated to actual media. I called Patricia Hartwell immediately. She answered on the first ring. Sarah, how bad is it? She asked without preamble. They're calling journalists. And they've started posting fake reviews that mention substance abuse. I pulled up Career Watch on my laptop while talking. 3 more negative reviews had appeared since I'd first looked, all posted within the last hour. Patricia, how is this even legal? It's not. But proving it's Marcus behind the fake reviews is going to take time we might not have. Her voice was grim. I've got my attorney looking into emergency injunction options, but TK_Consulting is based in Nevada, and they're good at covering their tracks. What about the evidence Amanda found? The recordings, the payment records? That proves Marcus hired them, but it doesn't automatically stop their current campaign. These reputation management companies are designed to create plausible deniability. Patricia paused. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Is there anything in your background that they could use? Any real incidents they could exaggerate or twist? My mind raced through every professional interaction I'd had over the past 5 years. Nothing. I mean, I've had difficult clients, challenging projects, the usual workplace stress. But nothing that would justify these kinds of allegations. Good. Because they're going to take whatever they can find and magnify it. Patricia's tone sharpened. I just got off the phone with Jennifer Morrison. Someone called her this morning claiming to be from a professional licensing board, asking about ongoing investigations into your conduct. Jennifer knew it was fake because marketing executives don't have professional licenses, but whoever called knew enough details about your relationship to sound initially credible. The sophistication of Marcus's campaign was terrifying. He wasn't just spreading random lies, he was creating an entire ecosystem of false legitimacy, with multiple sources all seemingly independently concerned about my professional behavior. My phone buzzed with a call from David Chin. I'd been dreading this moment since I woke up to the fake reviews. Sarah, we need to talk. Can you be in my office in an hour? David, whatever you've heard. 1 hour, he said, and hung up. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, trying to prepare for a conversation that would determine whether I still had a job by lunchtime. The fake reviews were spreading across multiple platforms now, and Marcus's systematic character assassination was accelerating exactly as he'd planned. Monday's promotion announcement was still 2 days away, but at this rate, I might not survive until then. David's office felt like a tribunal. He sat behind his desk with a printed stack of papers that I recognized immediately, screenshots of the fake reviews that had been multiplying across professional platforms since dawn. Sarah, I'm going to ask you directly, and I need a straight answer. His voice was carefully controlled, the tone of someone trying very hard to remain professional. Are you currently struggling with substance abuse issues? The question hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting it. No. David, those reviews are fake. They're part of Marcus's campaign to destroy my career. I showed you his journal, the documented evidence. I know what you showed me yesterday. But this morning I got a call from someone claiming to be a former colleague of yours from your previous job at Brennan Marketing. They expressed concern about your current well-being and mentioned that you'd had episodes before. My mouth went dry. I'd worked at Brennan Marketing 4 years ago, before I'd even met Marcus. David, I never had any issues at Brennan. You can call my former supervisor, Rebecca Walsh. She'll tell you. I did call her. 20 minutes ago. David's expression was unreadable. Rebecca said she'd already heard from someone this morning asking about your employment history. She assured me you were an exemplary employee, but Sarah. He paused. The fact that someone is systematically calling your former employers suggests this campaign is bigger than we initially thought. I sank into the chair across from his desk. Marcus wasn't just attacking my current reputation, he was retroactively poisoning my entire professional history. Rebecca also mentioned something interesting, David continued. The person who called her knew specific details about projects you'd worked on at Brennan, internal team dynamics, even the reason you left for this job. Information that would be very difficult for an outsider to obtain. My blood chilled. What kind of details? Details that someone would only know if they'd had access to your personal emails or private conversations about your career history. David leaned forward. Sarah, is it possible Marcus has been monitoring your digital communications for longer than we realized? The thought made me nauseous. Marcus had lived in my apartment for 2 years. He'd had access to my laptop, my phone, my personal email accounts. I trusted him with passwords, shared devices, let him use my computer when his was being repaired. He could have been collecting information about me for years, I whispered. Every job application, every professional correspondence, every private complaint I made about former colleagues. He could have copied everything. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Rebecca Walsh from Brennan Marketing. Someone's been calling former clients from your time here asking about performance issues. Thought you should know. These people are thorough. Asterisk. I showed David the text. His jaw tightened. Sarah, I'm going to be honest with you. I believe that you're being targeted, and I believe Marcus is behind it. But I've got board members asking questions, clients expressing concerns, and a fake news campaign that's spreading faster than we can debunk it. He gestured at the printed reviews. These posts are being shared in private professional groups, forwarded in email chains, discussed in industry forums. Even if we prove they're false, the damage is compounding exponentially. What does that mean for Monday's announcement? David was quiet for a long moment. It means that promoting you right now would look like we're either unaware of serious allegations against one of our executives, or we're aware and don't care. Neither option is good for the company. The creative director position I'd worked toward for 2 years was slipping away, and Marcus's timeline was working exactly as he'd calculated. But something in David's tone suggested he wasn't giving up entirely. However, he continued, if we can prove this is a coordinated attack and identify the people responsible, that changes everything. I've already contacted our legal team about pursuing criminal charges and civil damages. My phone rang, Patricia Hartwell's number. I looked at David, who nodded. Sarah, Patricia's voice was urgent through the speaker. We just got a break. Amanda found Marcus's backup files. Amanda found Marcus's backup files, Patricia repeated through the speakerphone, her voice cutting through my despair like a lifeline. External hard drive hidden in his apartment. She went back to collect her things this morning and found it taped under his desk drawer. David leaned forward. What kind of files? Everything. Email drafts he never sent, practice conversations he recorded himself having, even screenshots of Sarah's social media posts from 2 years ago with notes about how to use them against her. Patricia's tone was grim. But more importantly, we found his communication with TK_consulting, including their real client database. My heart hammered. What do you mean, real client database? Sarah, TK_consulting isn't just destroying your reputation. They're running identical campaigns against 17 other people simultaneously. All women, all in competitive professional fields, all targeted by ex-boyfriends or former colleagues. Patricia's voice hardened. This is their business model. Marcus isn't their only client, he's part of a pattern. David's expression shifted from concern to anger. Are you telling me there's a company that specializes in systematically destroying women's careers for money? That's exactly what I'm telling you. And we found their price sheet. Basic reputation destruction package, $5,000. Advanced campaign with media outreach, $15,000. Premium package with employment sabotage and legal harassment, $25,000. Patricia paused. Marcus paid for premium. The room spun slightly. $25,000. Marcus had spent $25,000 to destroy my life, like hiring contractors to demolish a house he didn't want anymore. There's more, Patricia continued. We found chat logs between Marcus and TK_consulting where they discussed success metrics. They measure their effectiveness by tracking their targets' job losses, salary decreases, and career trajectory changes. Sarah, they have a file on you that includes projections of your lifetime earning potential before and after their campaign. How much? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. They estimated their campaign would reduce your lifetime earnings by approximately $1.2 million. The casual precision of it made me nauseous. Someone had calculated the dollar value of my professional destruction and decided it was worth the investment. Patricia, what about the other women being targeted? David asked. Are any of them fighting back? 3 of them tried. TK_consulting has a secondary service for clients whose targets don't give up quietly. They call it reputation reinforcement. Basically, they escalate the campaign until the target either leaves their industry entirely or has what they term a career-ending breakdown. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake, *Sarah, someone called my girlfriend asking about your drinking habits. They knew her name and where she works. This is getting scary, *. I showed the text to David, whose face had gone red. They're targeting your personal relationships now? Advanced intimidation tactics, Patricia confirmed through the speaker. According to Marcus's files, Phase 3 involves contacting family members, friends, anyone who might support you professionally or personally. The goal is complete social isolation. When does Phase 3 start? I asked, dreading the answer. It already has. Amanda found outgoing call logs from this morning. Marcus personally called your sister Katie, your former roommate Jennifer, and someone listed as Sarah's mentor, Claire Davidson. Claire Davidson. My first boss in marketing, the woman who'd recommended me for this job 3 years ago. If Marcus poisoned that relationship, he wouldn't just be destroying my current career, he'd be severing the professional connections that had built it in the first place. David, I said urgently, I need to call Claire before Marcus's lies take root. If she believes whatever story he's telling. Call her now, David said, pushing his desk phone toward me. Speakerphone. I want to hear what kind of story Marcus is spreading. My hands shook as I dialed Claire's number, knowing that this conversation would either save my career or confirm that Marcus had successfully burned down everything I'd spent 5 years building. Claire answered on the second ring, her voice tight with concern. Sarah? I was just about to call you. Claire, I'm so glad you answered, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I think Marcus called you this morning. He did. Claire's tone was careful, professional. Sarah, he sounded genuinely worried about you. Said you've been struggling with some personal issues that are affecting your work performance. David gestured for me to stay calm. I took a breath. Claire, what specifically did he tell you? That you've been having panic attacks during client meetings, that you've been making erratic decisions, and that your company is considering putting you on medical leave. Claire paused. He said he was calling because he still cares about you and thought I should know, given that I recommended you for your current position. The sophistication of Marcus's lie was breathtaking. He'd crafted a story that made him look concerned and caring while painting me as mentally unstable, and he'd specifically targeted the person whose professional opinion carried the most weight in my career history. Claire, I need you to listen very carefully, I said. Marcus and I broke up 4 months ago, and he's been systematically sabotaging my career ever since. We have documented proof that he's paid over $25,000 to a company that specializes in destroying women's professional reputations. Silence on the other end. Then, Sarah, that sounds paranoid. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? My heart sank. Marcus had predicted exactly how I'd sound trying to defend myself, paranoid, unstable, desperate. He'd played this conversation out in advance. David took the phone from me. Claire, this is David Chen, Sarah's supervisor. I'm calling you as a witness to this conversation because we're dealing with a criminal conspiracy that involves corporate espionage, wire fraud, and systematic harassment. Claire's tone shifted immediately. David Chen's name carried weight in Seattle's marketing community. David? What's going on? What's going on is that Sarah's ex-boyfriend has been running a coordinated campaign to destroy her career, and we have FBI-level evidence of his activities. David's voice was crisp, authoritative. The man who called you this morning has spent months paying sources inside our client companies for confidential information, hiring reputation management firms to spread false allegations, and documenting his sabotage efforts like a business plan. That's impossible. Patricia's voice cut in from the speakerphone. Claire, this is Patricia Hartwell from Hartwell and Associates. Marcus Chen was employed at my firm until yesterday, when we discovered his activities and he fled. We have his journals, his financial records, his communications with the company he hired to destroy Sarah's reputation, and recordings of him discussing his plans. Another pause. You're saying Marcus documented this? 47 pages of handwritten notes, I said, finding my voice again. Including a timeline that specifically mentions using you as a character reference against me. He wrote down that you'd be receptive to concerns about Sarah's stability because you'd feel responsible for recommending me. Jesus. Claire's voice went quiet. He really said that? David slid a photo across his desk, one of Marcus's journal pages mentioning Claire by name. I read it aloud. Claire Davidson, Sarah's former supervisor and mentor. Established trust relationship, takes professional reputation seriously. Approach with concern rather than accusation. Likely to withdraw support if presented with evidence of Sarah's declining judgment. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. When Claire spoke again, her voice was shaking with anger. That manipulative son of a bitch. Sarah, I am so sorry. He sounded so genuine, so worried about you. That's exactly how he planned to sound, Patricia said through the speaker. We found practice scripts he wrote for different scenarios, including specifically how to approach former supervisors and mentors. My phone buzzed with an incoming call, Jennifer Morrison's name on the screen. My stomach dropped. It's my client. The one whose account he destroyed. David nodded. Take it. We need to know what new lies are spreading. I answered with trembling fingers. Jennifer? Sarah, we have a problem. Someone just called our board of directors claiming to represent your company's ethics committee. They suggested that Morrison Tech might face liability issues for working with you while you're under internal investigation for misconduct. The room tilted. Jennifer, we don't have an ethics committee. And I'm not under investigation for anything. I know that now. But Sarah, they knew names of specific board members, internal project details, even confidential information about our budget allocations for your contract. Jennifer's voice was tight with barely controlled fury. Someone has been gathering intelligence on my company for months, and they're using it to make their lies sound credible. Marcus wasn't just destroying my reputation anymore. He was weaponizing corporate espionage to threaten my clients directly, creating liability concerns that would make it impossible for any company to work with me regardless of whether they believed his allegations. How many board members did they call? David asked. All 7. And they're scheduled to vote on contract renewals Monday morning. Jennifer paused. Sarah, I believe you, and I want to fight this. But if our board thinks we're exposed to legal risk by working with you. Monday morning. The same day as my promotion announcement, Marcus had orchestrated a coordinated attack designed to simultaneously destroy my current job and my biggest client relationship. Claire's voice came through David's phone. Sarah, what can I do to help? This man needs to be stopped. But even as offers of support came from every direction, I could feel Marcus's timeline ticking toward its conclusion. He'd spent months building toward Monday, and we had less than 48 hours to dismantle a conspiracy that spanned multiple companies, involved federal crimes, and had already begun poisoning every professional relationship I'd spent years building. The war for my career was about to reach its climax, and I still wasn't sure we had enough ammunition to win. The breakthrough came at 11:47 p.m. on Sunday night, less than 10 hours before both the promotion announcement and Morrison Tech's board vote. Amanda called me while I was pacing my apartment, unable to sleep, mentally rehearsing the conversation I'd have with David in the morning about whether I still had a career. Sarah, I found something. Amanda's voice was breathless with excitement. I've been going through Marcus's deleted browser history, and I found his research on TK_consulting from before he hired them. He didn't just find them randomly, he specifically sought out companies that had been investigated by the FTC. My heart stopped. Investigated for what? For running fake review schemes targeting women in competitive industries. TK_consulting was fined $2.3 million by the Federal Trade Commission last year, but they restructured and kept operating under a different business model. Amanda's words tumbled out rapidly. Sarah, Marcus knew they were essentially a criminal organization when he hired them. He has saved articles about their previous victims, including one woman who lost a $400,000 a year pharmaceutical job because of their fake ethics violation campaign. I grabbed my laptop and started typing. What was the woman's name? Dr. Lisa Moreau. She sued TK_consulting and won, but it took 3 years and she never got her career back. Amanda paused. But Sarah, here's the important part. Dr. Moreau's case established legal precedent. If we can prove TK_consulting is running the same illegal operation they were sanctioned for, we can get an emergency restraining order that forces them to stop immediately. How do we prove that? We already have. The files I found include TK_consulting's client intake forms with identical language to what they used in the previous case. Same pricing structure, same timeline templates, even the same fake review templates with just the names changed. Amanda's voice grew stronger. Marcus saved everything because he's obsessive about documentation, but his obsession just gave us the smoking gun. My phone buzzed with an incoming call from Patricia Hartwell at nearly midnight. I conferenced her in. Sarah, Amanda, I'm calling from my attorney's office. We've been working all night, and we're filing for an emergency restraining order against TK_consulting at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Patricia's voice was sharp with determination. But I just got off the phone with someone you need to hear from. Who? Derek Morrison. Jennifer's nephew, the one who's been selling information to Marcus. Patricia's tone darkened. Apparently Derek got scared when he heard that federal investigators might get involved. He just sent me a 17-page confession detailing everything he's done for Marcus over the past 2 months. My laptop chimed with an incoming email from Patricia containing Derek's statement. I scanned the first page and felt my jaw drop. He kept copies of everything he sent Marcus. Every confidential document, every internal email, every piece of intelligence about Morrison Tech's operations. It gets better, Patricia continued. Derek also documented the other people Marcus has been working with. Tommy Chen, Marcus's brother, didn't just help coordinate the online campaign, he's been running a parallel operation targeting 3 other women in Seattle's marketing industry. This is bigger than just you, Sarah. Amanda's voice cut in. I found Tommy's files too. Marcus has been beta testing strategies on other targets to see what worked before applying them to you. You weren't his first victim, you were his masterpiece. The casual cruelty of it made me nauseous, but for the first time in days, I felt something besides fear and desperation. I felt anger. Pure, focused, productive anger. Patricia, what time is the emergency hearing? I asked. 8 a.m. If we get the restraining order, TK_Consulting has to immediately cease all activities related to your case and provide a list of every platform where they posted fake content. Patricia's voice carried a note of satisfaction. And Derek's confession gives us everything we need to prove Marcus committed federal crimes. 6 hours until the legal cavalry arrived. I just had to survive until morning. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 8 a.m., but at 5:23 a.m., everything went sideways. I woke up to my phone buzzing with frantic calls from Patricia Hartwell. When I answered, her voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Sarah, Marcus is gone. Amanda went to his apartment this morning to retrieve the backup drive for the court hearing, and the place is completely cleaned out. No forwarding address, no contact information, and his phone is going straight to a disconnected number. My blood went cold. What about the evidence? Please tell me we still have copies of everything. We have copies, but there's more. Amanda found a note Marcus left for her. Patricia's voice dropped. He knows we found his files. He knows about Derek's confession. And he's accelerating his timeline. I stumbled to my laptop, dreading what I might find. 7 new fake reviews had been posted about me since midnight, each one more damaging than the last. But it was the email waiting in my inbox that made my hands shake. Sarah, thought you should know that Morrison Tax Board meeting has been moved up to 7 a.m. this morning. Someone contacted the board chair at home last night with urgent concerns about liability issues. The vote is happening in 2 hours. Jennifer. 7 a.m. 1 hour before our court hearing, and 30 minutes before I was supposed to meet with David about the promotion announcement. My phone rang, David Chen's number at 5:31 a.m. Sarah, get to the office immediately. I just got a call from our legal department. Someone filed a formal complaint against you with the Better Business Bureau, the State Attorney General's office, and the Professional Marketing Association. All 3 complaints were submitted at 3 a.m. this morning with identical language claiming you violated client confidentiality and professional ethics standards. The room spun. David, those are all fake complaints. This is Marcus's final push before the court hearing. I know they're fake. But Sarah, the complaints include specific details about Morrison Tech projects that weren't in the journal pages we found. Someone's been gathering fresh intelligence even after we discovered Marcus's plan. Fresh intelligence. My mind raced through the implications. David, what if Marcus isn't working alone? What if someone else at Morrison Tech has been feeding him information this whole time? What do you mean? Derek Morrison confessed to selling information to Marcus, but what if Derek wasn't Marcus's only source? What if someone higher up in the Morrison Tech organization has been helping coordinate this entire campaign? My laptop chimed with a new email, this one from Amanda, marked urgent. Sarah found something horrible in Marcus's deleted files. He's been recording phone calls with someone at Morrison Tech who isn't Derek. Someone in senior leadership has been helping him plan this entire operation. Sending audio files now. I clicked on Amanda's attachment and heard Marcus's voice through my speakers, but he was talking to someone with a distinctly older voice, someone who spoke with the confidence of executive authority. The board meetings moved to 7 a.m., the unknown voice was saying. That gives us a 4-hour window between when Sarah loses Morrison Tech and when her company announces the promotion decision. Maximum psychological impact. Marcus responded, perfect. TK_Consulting is launching the final wave of fake complaints at 6 a.m., so by the time she gets to her office, David Chen will be dealing with regulatory agencies questioning their decision to promote someone under active investigation. And if she tries to fight back with that evidence Amanda found? Won't matter. By noon today, Sarah Mitchell will be radioactive. No company in Seattle will touch her, and no legal victory will undo the reputation damage. Marcus's voice carried a note of satisfaction. $25,000 to destroy a competitor permanently. Best investment I ever made. The audio file ended. I stared at my laptop screen, processing the fact that someone in Morrison Tech senior leadership had been actively collaborating with Marcus to destroy both my career and their own company's relationship with my firm. But Marcus had made one critical error. He'd assumed I'd be fighting this battle alone. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire Davidson. Sarah, I've been making calls all night. Every woman Marcus and TK_Consulting have targeted is ready to testify. We're not just stopping him, we're taking down the entire operation. See you in court at 8 a.m. The war was about to end, but the next 3 hours would determine whether I emerged victorious or destroyed. At 6:47 a.m., with 13 minutes until Morrison Tax Board vote and 1 hour until our emergency court hearing, I was about to discover that Marcus's conspiracy reached deeper into my professional world than I'd ever imagined. At 7:43 a.m., 17 minutes before the emergency court hearing that would determine my professional survival, my phone rang with a call that changed everything. Sarah, this is Judge Catherine Wells. I'm calling from my chambers because what we've uncovered in the past hour requires immediate action. Her voice was sharp, urgent. The audio files Amanda Reeves provided don't just prove Marcus Chen's conspiracy, they've exposed a federal racketeering operation. I was sitting in Patricia Hartwell's car outside the courthouse, hands shaking as I watched lawyers hurrying up the steps with boxes of evidence. What do you mean, racketeering? The voice on Marcus's recordings belongs to James Morrison, Jennifer's uncle and Morrison Tech's chief financial officer. We've identified him through voice analysis, and the FBI ran his communications overnight. Judge Wells paused. Sarah, James Morrison has been coordinating with TK_Consulting to target competitors across the Pacific Northwest marketing industry. You weren't Marcus's victim, you were James Morrison's. The pieces fell into place with devastating clarity. James Morrison had been using his nephew Derek to gather intelligence, then feeding that information to TK_Consulting's other clients to systematically eliminate marketing executives who threatened Morrison Tech's preferred vendors. Marcus hadn't hired TK_Consulting to destroy me. James Morrison had hired Marcus to destroy me, using TK_Consulting as the middleman. How many other targets? I asked. 14 women across 6 companies. All senior marketing executives, all representing firms that competed with Morrison Tech's preferred agencies. Judge Wells' voice hardened. The FBI executed search warrants at Morrison Tech's offices 20 minutes ago. James Morrison is in federal custody, Derek Morrison is cooperating fully, and TK_Consulting's Nevada offices are being raided as we speak. My phone buzzed with a call from David Chin. I put Judge Wells on hold. Sarah, where are you? David's voice was breathless with excitement. Morrison Tech's board just voted unanimously to expand our contract and formally apologize for the security breach that compromised your account. Jennifer Morrison is personally recommending you for the creative director position. David, what happened at their board meeting? FBI agents arrived at 7:15 a.m. with evidence that James Morrison had been selling confidential client information to sabotage competing firms. The whole board was horrified. David's voice grew warmer. Sarah, they want to retain us specifically because of how you handled this situation. Jennifer said anyone who could uncover federal conspiracy while defending their professional integrity is exactly who they want running their marketing campaigns. I switched back to Judge Wells. Your Honor, what happens now? Now you watch everything Marcus built collapse in real time. The restraining order is granted, TK_Consulting is permanently shut down, and every fake review they ever posted is being removed with federal oversight. Judge Wells' tone carried deep satisfaction. Marcus Chen is facing federal charges for wire fraud, conspiracy, and extortion. His brother Tommy is in custody. The 14 women they targeted are filing a joint civil lawsuit for damages. At 8:17 a.m., I walked out of the courthouse with legal documents that would restore my reputation, financial settlements that would compensate for months of career damage, and the knowledge that Marcus's systematic campaign to destroy me had instead destroyed him. By noon, David Chen had officially announced my promotion to creative director. By 2 p.m., 3 other marketing firms had called offering executive positions. By 5 p.m., Marcus's meticulous journal, the evidence that had seemed like my professional death warrant, was being used by federal prosecutors to build cases that would send him to prison for 7 years. Marcus had spent $25,000 and 4 months of obsessive planning to reduce my lifetime earnings by $1.2 million. Instead, his documented conspiracy had increased my professional value, established me as someone who could handle corporate espionage with grace under pressure, and created legal precedent that would protect other women from similar attacks. The man who had tried to destroy my career had inadvertently launched it into a stratosphere he could never have reached himself. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being better at someone else's game than they ever imagined possible.